G'day fellas, welcome to another episode of Viper Watch. We are entering the Snake Pit once again to take a look at how the Viper is going to be playing the Abbasid Dynasty. Now today he's going to be playing the Abbasid Dynasty and he's going to be playing it on this map right here, which I think is called Nagari, but I'm not 100% sure. And let's talk a little bit about this map, the way that it works. So this map is typically a map that you would want to be playing French on. And the reason why is because you want control of this bad boy right here. Take a look at this. Absolutely plenty. Wait, Delhi? He's playing Delhi? He's playing Delhi. Oh my lord, Viper's playing Delhi. Oh my lord. Okay. Shit just got real. Welcome back to Viper Watch, where shit gets extra real because Viper's playing Delhi, dude. What the heck? We're not even restarting. We're just going with that, man. I'm so much more hyped now that Viper is playing Delhi. This is gonna be interesting. Okay, Viper is playing Delhi on a map that ideally you would want to play French. And speaking of French, let's introduce our French player for today. We've got Mathiz, who's spawning in over on the east of the map. And I will just say this right now, okay? Mathiz is 100% a StarCraft 2 pro. Like, he is legit. He is insane. If I actually remember correctly, he's actually a coach. And to be a coach, like, you got to be pretty decent at the game, right? But unfortunately for Mathiz, it looks like he's going to be expanding up towards the north where there are no deep sea fish or deep water fish. I think they've changed the name to now. Let's take a look. Deep water fish. If he'd chosen down towards the south, he would have plenty of deep water fish. But unfortunately not. Another little bit of a weird pond. And then, of course, in the middle. Now, one of the curious things to note. Now, he should know that his enemy is playing as Delhi. But I guess there's a lot of different levels of meta, and when I talk about meta is the concept of what you expect to happen in a game, right? Like, what do you expect is going to happen in a game? So, like, the meta thing is to age up, right? Because you need to age up, because you need to make military units, okay? But let's talk a little bit about this map, because this map is a hybrid map. This is not just a water map, it's not just a land map, it's a bit of both. So, first and foremost, we've got France, which excels on water, okay? And Mathiz is probably thinking a little bit outside the box here, which I do like, going up for the north here. Typically, you would expect a French player to come here and expand towards the middle. And why? Because France beats every other civ on water. It's not even close. There's, no discussion about it. It's just 100%, okay? So if he comes here, he's guaranteed to win this. But what if Viper was thinking outside the box himself and he said, well, hold on, I'm playing Delhi. And Delhi, typically they want to have a little bit longer of an age 1 because they're spending a lot of wood in their age 1. And in addition to that, their military, so their infantry, can make walls. So what if Viper got, say, 3 or 4 spears out, brought them over to the dock, and then walled himself in so that his enemy couldn't get any spears in or any villagers in or anything to sort of attack them? And so, I don't know whether Mathiz's thinking is that deep. I would suspect it is, and that's why he's gone up here towards the north rather than coming down here towards the south, or not necessarily towards the south, that's a coin flip, but towards the middle, because that's really where it is. Viper actually coming over here, Viper picking the smallest piece of water he can find, and he's like, this looks like a good home for me. Viper, what are you doing going for this one? Oh, you silly cat. Oh my lord. Viper's like, well, I can't beat him on the big water, so I'll just take the little water for myself. All right. I respect it. Viper going to be going for the Dome of the Faith. I'd be curious. I would love to ask Viper after this game, hey Viper, I'm really curious to know what was your thought process behind going for this dock, because you actually scouted down to the south that there was deep water fish in this pond, which is like, that's a pretty good goal. You could save in this pond here, you could safely make 12, 13 fishing boats very happily. Like, I would say that's a good number of fishing boats. You could go even more than that with these, ideally. But it looks like, oh, now he might be expanding down here. I like it. So maybe just starting out slow, and now he's going to be going big league. So we can see he's actually got the Dome of the Faith down. I do like the way that he's thinking about this. I'm just curious that he decided to take this pond with the 3 shorefish on it. I guess he's probably suspecting that this is going to be a very safe source of fish. His enemy is highly unlikely to contest this or take this, but nonetheless, We'll tune in with the Viper, see what he's up to. So going up with the Dome of the Faith, for anybody unfamiliar with this is one of the first Delhi games we're casting. I mean, we've casted a few. We've casted Give You Anxiety playing the Delhi. He does love them, but we're going to be casting Viper here. So going up with the Dome of the Faith, this landmark produces scholars at 50% of the cost. Now you might be wondering, what the hell is a scholar, Drong? I've never heard that word before in my life. Well, my friend, not only are you uneducated, but you are unfamiliar with the mechanics of Delhi, because a scholar is what they use to speed up their research. The scholars enable Delhi buildings to research things faster. So Delhi don't actually pay for their research. None of their technology has a cost associated with it. Rather, it is a time investment instead. So if we take a look here at the mill, Viper is currently researching wheelbarrow, and you can see that it takes quite a long time, 6 minutes and 8 seconds, but he's only got 1 minute and 13 left on it. And for every scholar that he has, he's going to reduce that down a little bit. So we take a look over, and now from his mining camp, he's going to be getting specialized pick. From his lumber camp, he's going to be getting his double broad axe. I was going to say his double bit axe, I apologize. But one of the things to note, Viper has actually forgotten to get the upgrades in his mosque. So the mosque is the unique building that the Delhi have got access to. And one of the things to note with this is that your first mosque that is built actually has a scholar already in it. These guys are quite expensive, so to balance it out, they actually give you one just to start off with. Now, Viper actually heading up to the north, going to be spotting this out. I'd be curious to see whether we spot an immediate reaction from this, whether we see, say, a barracks thrown up or, a villager moving out to begin forward towering this, something like that, but it doesn't look like we've got anything just yet. Down towards the south, he continues to saturate this pond, but sitting on a comfortable 4 fishing boats, and I would agree, I think this is probably about the reasonable amount that you'd want to invest. Now coming down to this pond, and going to continue scouting out his enemy. A Royal Knight actually going to be chasing down this scout, and this is a fruitless effort. I would not encourage this. So let's say you're playing the French and your enemy begins scouting you out like this. Do not send your knight after it. You're never going to catch him. You're never going to you're never even going to harm him. Don't even bother. You're just wasting your time. Go harass your enemy. Go send your knights over to his gold. Do all that kind of jazz. And speaking of all that kind of jazz, we've now got ourselves a little bit of a dock in the middle. And I like where he's put this dock, because he has actually scouted out the dock from Viper. So he knows that he's in this area. Viper typically is going to be thinking, I don't know the way to word it, but ideally, if you've got expansion down here already, you're going to have a propensity to expand in that direction, okay? You want to expand in one direction. You want to expand in a linear fashion. You don't want to move up towards the north and expand up here. You don't want to drop a town center up here. Like, if you've got a natural town center place, it's going to be down here next to the berries, because it's going to be closer for you to defend down here. So, as a natural... So Matt is undoubtedly would recognize that, and as a consequence, it means he's going to actually take this spot and expand from this side, because he respects that even though this is closer to his base, even though it's a little bit of a walk around. Actually, is it closer to his base? Actually, it's, oh my god, never mind. He's completely walled in. Oh my lord. Oh my lord. Okay, don't mind anything I just said in the last 60 seconds, me trying to psychoanalyze what Matiz's decision making, and no, it's just bad map gen. It's just bad map gen. All right, Age of Empires 4 demonstrating why we probably can't rely on random map gen, at least this early in the game. It would be great to have static maps, at least a little bit static for now. But this is quite funny. Does Viper actually realize that that's completely walled in? Viper does actually know this is walled in. So he's come up here. You can see he's completely scouted this out. He knows that there's actually only one way to fight. Now, his opponent could cut through this. It's going to take time, but there's actually a very quick way to do that. For anybody wondering what the quickest way to cut through that is, so you want to find the shortest direct route through here, which is going to be along this tree line. Okay, as we watch Viper now defending quite well. So you want to put a lumber camp down right here. You want to get your villagers chopping, and you want to command them to chop these trees out, and then after they've chopped those trees, you then command them to chop these trees, and then you're going to build a house on top and cancel it. And then you're going to continue doing that until you're finally through. And ideally, if you did it correctly, it probably wouldn't take longer than 90 seconds to get through all of these trees, depending on whether you've got the upgrade that decreases your chopping time. Viper now going to be looking to get up to the 3rd age. Going to be going up. I was going to say going to be going up with a mosque. No, Viper is just dropping down a 3rd mosque. He's already got 2 of those mosques down. So going to be dropping down a third one as well. Going to be going up with the House of Learning. For anybody unfamiliar with the House of Learning, it provides unique technologies to the Delhi Sultanate. The Delhi Sultanate have special unique technologies that they can get. Things like outpost line of sight being increased by, I think at the moment it's 50%. I think it used to be 100%. They probably nerfed it because it's quite outrageous. Also things like knights and men-at-arms getting an extra set of attack. So I think it's a +3 attack. So not too bad. If you're wondering if this is live and you're watching on Twitch right now, I can assure you that it's live if you're watching on YouTube. Unfortunately, we're probably live over on Twitch right now when this gets uploaded, so come over and say good day. I'll leave a link in the description. But now going to be aging up. Let's take a look at what the researches are. So we've got increases the melee damage of men-at-arms and knights by 3. Increases the sight range of outposts by 50%. Mosques restore +1 health to nearby friendly units every second. Houses and town centers grant an additional +5 maximum population, and in the Imperial Age, he's got access to an increase of carrying capacity for villagers by +5. So some really, really nice upgrades for them. Now, keep in mind, if you do not get this landmark, the House of Learning, you will not have access to these unique technologies. So the other landmark that they've got allows their infantry to build stone walls, stone towers, stone gates, all that kind of stuff, but nothing else really. Now, this map actually reminds me a little bit of a map that I played in an old game. So I used to play a game back in the day called Total Annihilation. This game came out, I think, in 1999. And my favorite map on that game was a map called The Pass. And the reason why was because you had one player who spawned over here, and you had one player who spawned over here, and then in the middle you had like a winding trail that was sort of covered by, well, it was surrounded by mountains. And I really feel like this is very similar. This is the pass right here. There's only one way through this map. I mean, technically you could probably drop over onto this side down here and begin harassing down to the south. But ideally there's really just one map, or one pass rather, for these players to get through. And Viper, unfortunately getting out positioned a little bit there. A knight and a scout going to get through here, and a sheep as well. Don't forget the sheep, the lovely little sheep going to be coming in there as well. Viper now bringing back some of his relics. Now keep in mind, he is now finally going to be getting these upgrades that are available to him in the mosque. But let's take a look over at Matiz. Viper actually going to be capturing the sacred site down here to the south. There's another sacred site up here to the north. Only 2 sacred sites on this map. So we'll take a look over at Matiz's perspective and see exactly what he sees and see how he's doing. And I'm a little bit concerned right now because this is a lot of fishing boats. This is a huge amount of fishing boats for Matiz. And he's in a very safe position, okay? He's in Age 3, probably gone up with the Guild Hall. We'll take a look and see if we can spot it. There's the Guild Hall. The Guild Hall is on gold, so he's very happy. He's actually just collected his resources as well. A bit of a mistake there. Ideally, you want to leave that one for as long as possible. He spots this down to the south as well, but going up now for a second town center himself and adding a monastery at the front. Going to be looking to pick up those relics. We actually see that those, it's his monk is actually directly heading out to this sacred site. So curious, instead of heading back here for this relic, which is normally the play that you'd be making, going to be coming back for that. Now, interesting to know, there's only one relic on this side of the map. I don't think, has Viper gotten a hold of every other relic? 3 relics in that one. Is that it? Am I missing one? Surely I'm missing one. Am I just blind? Is that it? That is now going to be pushing in. Viper trying to put down a barracks, but it looks like a couple villagers here gonna be managing to get it up, but unfortunately going to be going down the opposite direction of the barracks. Barracks goes up, villagers go down. Everybody turns around and touches their toes. But now going to continue heading in towards the gold mine. Viper does have that textile upgrade. Got to be careful. He does finally react. At the same time, something is under attack in the base of Matiz. I'm not sure exactly what triggered that. A little bit buggy. But I do like that this is actually really smart from Matiz. I love this so much. This is so smart. One fishing boat is just out here gathering from shorefish. Why is he doing that? Because if he scouts a dock, he's going to be able to know, oh, okay, I need to start making units on the water. And until then, it's basically on a patrol route. And that is so damn smart. He's getting the one in the middle as well, so he's got all the line of sight. You can see as he does that. Imperial now going to be coming through for Matiz, so really going for a fast Imperial here. Putting on a little bit of pressure, but you can see just how much line of sight. It is very, very, like, this is what separates, like, the top players from the best player. Like, tiny little things like this. So, I look forward to seeing, tactics like this as we move towards Genesis. For anybody unfamiliar with Genesis, $20,000 Age of Empires 4 tournament, which is due to happen. I should actually know the dates, but I don't have it off the top of my head. It's sometime in the next week or so. So looking forward to that a lot. When you guys see this on YouTube, it's probably going to be in the description, so make sure you check that one out. Everyone is definitely looking forward to Genesis. A lot of people training already for Genesis. And Viper continuing now down here. You can see that these shorefish, like just how long they are lasting down here with only 4 fishing boats. We're at 14 minutes now. Viper must have dropped this at about 4 minutes. So about 20 minutes in total he'll have there, because those things are only about halfway through. Viper actually got a very nice cheeky scout in here, and a little bit of a graphical error just happening right there. For the most part, I've found that Age of Empires 4 has been a very solid game when it comes to the graphics, the optimization. Very few errors when it comes to that sort of thing. So it's good to see that, you know, not everybody's perfect. That is normal. But Viper now gonna be getting out his men-at-arms. Now, keep in mind, these guys do have that big bad upgrade. So if we take a look, where is it? Over here. I was actually zoomed in a little bit there. I do apologize. He does have that unique upgrade, so these guys have got extra sharp knives. Let's take a look at the weapon that they've got. What do you guys think that is? Is that a scimitar? I think we've talked about this. A scythe, a scimitar, a katana? No, not a katana. Definitely not. It is, I'm curious to know exactly what kind of weapon that is. You know, when it comes to blades, things are so specific when it comes to that. It looks like a scimitar. I think it's a scimitar. A curved sword. Yeah, we can go with a curved sword. That's a safe. Definitely a scimitar. All right. And now Viper going to be hitting the Imperial Age as well. Let's talk about the landmark that he has gone up with. That's a town center. Here he goes. Gone with the Hussar Academy. Now, this is actually something that I disagree with, and we'll talk a little bit about why I don't like the Hussar Academy. So, the Hussar Academy is going to generate food based on the total number of technologies that you've researched. And in my opinion, I feel like there's no amount of food that could matter. Now, we'll talk about that later. Remind me later. We're going to talk a little bit about this because Viper's beginning to move in onto the gold. You can actually see the men with scythe moving in. Look how they get into it. They really put their backs into it as they begin to take down those villages. And now moving in on top. Mangonel shot coming from the back line. Viper realizing it's probably a little bit too much for him, and he's going to be pulling out. Now, keep in mind, he does have access to those scholars. Scholars going to be able to heal him up. And these scimitar wielding individuals are going to turn around and begin to fight. Only 1.12 movement speed. Oh, and now we've got Matt. He's coming out with some hand cannoneers. I didn't expect this. Mangonels for Viper also going to be coming out at this point. Getting some decent shots on. Look at that beautiful damage that comes in. This is why the Mangonel is the #1 siege unit in the game right now. Incredibly strong. All of that damage coming out in a very split second. No time for your opponent to react. No warning at all in advance. Just a beautiful issuance of damage that happens immediately. So let's talk a little bit about the Hussar Academy. We'll move back to it and talk about it. So, Hussar Academy, it generates food based on how many techs you've researched. Now, in my mind, okay, I wouldn't care if it gave me infinity food. And the reason why is because my farms automatically produce food. Like, they are infinitely producing sources of food. They are my farms, okay? So I don't need an infinite source of food. I already have an infinite source of food, okay? My farms. Whereas the other landmark that you've got access to, so there's the Hussar Academy, and there's a second landmark. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'll tell you a little bit about what it does. So it actually generates tower war elephants. So it takes time for it to do it, but over the course of the game, it will generate them. And they're quite heavy on gold. And so ideally, you want to have as many gold units as you can have in your game. And so if it's essentially giving you free gold at that point. And so as a result, because it's giving you gold, which is something that is very difficult for you to get. You take a look at this map here. There's not a lot of gold on it. Actually, I say that. Viper's looking very good when it comes to gold. He is in an incredible position. Oh, I'm feeling bad for Matthias right now. He's got 4k gold. He's got 8k gold. He's got his starting gold, which would have been a total of 12 gold. Compare that to Viper right now, who sits on 4k, 8k. He's just secured this one. 12k, 16k, 20k, 24k, 32k, 40k. he's in an alright position. Now, obviously, as I mentioned before, Mattis can choose to use this as a natural defensive point, or he can try and work his way through it. Ideally, I would be trying to work my way through it. You know, you can always stonewall it up. There's nothing wrong with a little bit of a stonewall a bit later in the game, but you know, you're going to need to get out there. You're going to need to scout for those resources. We take a look from his perspective. He has actually spotted that there is a big gold mine down here. He could come and fight for it. He doesn't know that there's a gold mine in here. He knows about that gold mine here. So he knows that there's resources over there. He knows that he's going to need it. Obviously, he's also got the trade post in his base. This is a neutral trading post, so he can be setting up a market over here. If he gets a market, maybe a couple markets over on this left side of the map or this north side of the map, he's going to be able to begin trading with this trading post and give himself a source of infinite gold. Remember, we talked a little bit earlier about the concept of infinite food. Well, that's a concept, or that's a way to get infinite gold as well. But obviously, that is it is in a sense not necessarily infinite, because it relies on you maintaining the integrity of that trade route. If your opponent does come in and looks to disrupt that, then it may be difficult for you to maintain that infinite supply. So something to always be cognizant of. A nice little outpost going to be going up here, granting him plenty of line of sight for Matiz. You can see that he's got no real line of sight at this point. But take a look at all the fishing boats that are in the center here. And this is exactly why French is so damn strong on this map. The fact that they're able to take control of this center pond and very effectively, fish this thing out. Keep in mind that in addition to that, okay, these deep water fish that he started out on, these guys are replenishing themselves. They replenish back. There are fish in here. I'm not sure exactly what these fishing boats are doing or who they're looking at, but there are fish that are there. Mangonel now coming in. Actually, those are Bombards coming in now and realizing they've got to back it up very quickly. Do we have Culverin now? We actually have a Culverin coming, our Royal Culverin coming out from Matiz. You can see right there with 102 cannon damage, 204 with siege rather, so a total of 306 damage that is happening out. And look at all those Springalds coming out from the one and only greatest of all time, the Viper. Now keep in mind, these Springalds are actually going to get one shot by the Royal Culverin. They do pretty well. They can hold their own, but you're going to have to micro them very carefully. 12 range on those Springalds against the 12 range of the Culverin. So definitely a bit of a difficult spot for him. He's going to have to be careful with regard to that. Plenty of stables now going to be coming down for Matiz on this back line as well. Mangonel's looking to move up as well. Let's take a look at the Culverin deciding that it wants to come in. Going to take a shot off. One shot's the first Springald. Viper's got to wake up here. Second shot going to be coming off. Rather the Springald's just sort of hitting back. And I do like the fact that he is pushing into this, because keep in mind, okay, when it comes to sacred sites, okay, right now Viper is sitting on 2 sacred sites, okay? We don't know exactly how long that's going to be that he actually wins until he gets a sacred site victory, but it will tell us, it will give us some gongs, okay? So listen out for those gongs. If you hear those gongs, you're going to know that there is a specific amount of time. Mangonel shot coming in. Did you guys see the stone flying by? Actually, it was a trebuchet flying by. A little bit of a close call right there. Almost took out the cameraman. And I tell you what, I kind of need to survive. Let's see if we can find that sweet spot for the Mangonel rock. There it goes. Sorry, the trebuchet rock, rather. But now you can see that the true power of the Culverin coming in here. Let's take a look at his siege workshops. Where are the siege workshops? He doesn't actually have access to the Culverin. So one of the things to note is that the Culverin is... It's a unit that only a few civilizations have got access to. So he's only got access to the Bombard. And so as a result, it's going to mean in choke points like this, the Culverin is always going to be more effective than the Springold, because the Springold kind of needs to group up and needs to get, needs to have a lot of them in here. But I love that Matiz has also got villagers out here, going to be healing up this Culverin. Now, we don't know how long this sacred site's got on it, but he's going to begin contesting this sacred site. Now, keep in mind, all Matiz needs to do is stand on this without Viper being present, and he is going to slowly run it out. He doesn't need to have religious units here. It just needs to be his military units or even economic units. Viper now coming in. You can see that sacred site timer has stopped. Mangonel shots coming in on the back line. Plenty of units going to be coming up. Elite men-at-arms, 23 attack on these bad boys. Looking to fight against the elite horsemen. Doing quite effectively against them, but he's got to be concerned because on the back line we've got hand cannoneers firing off. Mangonel's doing their best. Culverin taking shots at the keeps. Bombards as well. Everybody getting in on the action, in the Viper looking like he's going to hold here. Elite men-at-arms absolutely destroying his opponent. A lot of people were saying men-at-arms are kind of useless. Well, take a look at a Viper's notebook right now, because he is looking like he's in a commanding position. Mangonel's doing their best to try and deal with it, and Viper actually forcing his way up onto these Culverin. But take a look at Matiz healing through the damage, and it looks like Matiz is actually going to be in a decent spot here. Elephant now going to be coming out for Viper, and plenty of scholars as well. I think Viper is almost guaranteed to lose this sacred site, so the victory condition for Viper has now gone away for the moment. Sacred site lost, victory condition failed. Mangonel's firing and landing a pretty decent shot on those villagers. 3 HP remain. If he didn't have that textile upgrade, they'd all be gone. And a difficult spot for Viper. These Culverin are just so difficult to deal with. And now the elephants continue to march forward, and Viper, with these men-at-arms, doing his best to try and get in here. He needs to have these scholars brought forward. They do have a nice little buff that they can give out that increases the attack speed of all these units. Mangonel's on the back line, and Matt is looking very strong right now. I love his composition, the way he's using all these different types of units. Villagers getting in on the action as well. 23 villagers getting in on the elephant action. And Viper learning the hard way that French might actually be quite strong in this Age of Empires 4 edition. Villager coming forward. More elephants now going to be coming out for him. Now, one thing to note that Viper has got garrison inside each of his military production buildings. Scholars. These bad boys are going to be reducing the time it takes to actually train units, so he's going to be able to get reinforcements out to the front faster. But one thing to note, Viper currently sitting on a pretty poor economy at the moment. Only 76 villagers out for the Viper, despite having a significant amount of town centers. I'm wondering what's going on for the Viper. I almost said the Viper. The Viper. I don't think there's been any raid that's gotten through. I just think he might have forgotten to train villagers at some point. That's now in a bit of a difficult spot because his opponent is on a significantly greater economy, 97 villagers versus 76, and his opponent did just lose about 20 villagers as well, so, you know, sort of donating them off. But Viper in a bit of a difficult spot now, keeping it up with a lot of keeps on the forward sacred side. Springald's getting absolutely destroyed and taken out right there. You could see Matt is really thinking outside the box here. I theorized that Springald's wouldn't actually counter Culverin because, Springald's would counter Culverins because they could outnumber them. But when you see the way that Mattis is using his villagers to heal up the Royal Culverin, it really makes sense as to why these units are so strong, especially in a choke point like this, where it's difficult to get a surround, get a concave on your enemy Culverin. So really nice use of those units, and more Springalds now going to be coming out for Viper, of course, and you can see how fast they're being produced. 11 seconds for these bad boys. Holy dooly, that is quick. 11 seconds for a Springald. Sign me up for 6, baby. That is quick. Viper at the same time still sitting now on 79 villagers, not training any, hasn't really transitioned to farm, only on 20 villagers that are collecting food at the moment. He needs to pull all these bad boys off, drop down a whole bunch of farms, but the difficult spot for him is that the death push is now pushing in. 3 Culverin coming out now right now for Mattis. This is pretty huge because Mattis is in a significant lead. We see right now he's at a 2.5k score lead. He's got the trebuchets on the back line and he's very happy to wait. He's doing a slow methodical push, and this is what I think that when it comes to your siege units, trebuchets are methodical. Bombards are kind of like get in there. If you've got to get in somewhere and get in somewhere quick, pull out the Bombards. If you want to just have a slow time, you just want to quietly enjoy yourself, get the trebuchets out. They're going to take a little bit longer to do that damage, but at the end of the day, it's going to be a safer bet. And the reason why is because they've got that extra range. 16 tiles of range. Compare that over to the Bombard. We've got a Mangonel coming out. I don't think we've got any Bombards out on the field at the moment. Another Mangonel coming out for a Viper again. But I think that the Cannons have got a range of, or the Bombards have got a range of 10. So Bombards Cannons, pretty much the same unit. They're just the unique ones for the French. So 10 range. The Chinese have got 12 range on theirs. So that is their pyrotechnic bonus that they get with it. All of their gunpowder units increases range by 20%. But unfortunately for all the other civs, they're just going to have to deal with that. But Culverin obviously outranging that quite significantly, 12 versus 10. So it makes sense to have these trebuchets out. And obviously as well, Springalds are going to be dealing quite effectively. So that is definitely the right play. Otherwise, the Springalds would very effectively counter the siege that you've got. Trebuchets now continuing to slowly push through. And down towards the south side of the map, it looks like we've got some villagers beginning to move out towards a gold mine, I suspect. A lot of gold down here for Viper. But I'm curious to know exactly how much food this is producing. I don't think there's any actual way that we can tell how much it's producing. And Mangonel shot going to be taking out all those villagers building that keep. Viper having a great time, and all of the units running out to meet. We take a look at the middle. Horsemen meeting up against the scythe-holding men-at-arms. Elephants on the back line, and Viper doing his best right now. This is his death push. We see on the back line that these Culverin continuing to focus down all of the enemy siege, and Viper looking pretty decent. Mangonel shots coming out onto all of those infantry, losing a couple of horsemen out at the front. He's got to be careful. There's so many damn hand cannoneers here. They're going to absolutely shred through these elephants, but now some little splits happening through. Matt is looking almost like a gymnast right now with all these splits, taking down all of those elephants on the front line. We do see the last elephant does go the way of the dodo, which we do expect to probably happen in maybe 2030 at the rate the poachers are going, but that's another story. Let's not talk about this. We're keeping the mood cool because it's Age of Empires, baby. And now Viper manages to hold on despite having a significantly lower population. Matiz sitting on 153 at the moment. Compare that over to Viper, who's sitting on 151. I take it back. Actually, has the speed just increased of the game? I think the speed just increased of the game, but I'm going to slow it down. It's hard for me to tell. I think that's moving about exactly where it is. But Viper looking good. And this is indeed the counter to these hand cannoneers. The hand cannoneers get countered very effectively by mangonels. So Viper did a pretty decent job there of out-sieging his opponent, I would say. It looks like, is there a way through over here? There's actually a little bit of a flank through here that we could potentially see players use. This building did go down towards the south. I love that Viper is using so many of his scholars. Does he actually have any more scholars in these? Okay, he's actually pulled all of his scholars out of these. He's done all of his research for the late game. He's got all of his elite upgrades, all of his final economic upgrades. He pulled them all out. He said, you know what? We've got everything we need. Hussar Academy, you can see it trickling in food over there. But I really don't actually know how much it is. So I'd love to have that on the UI to indicate that. Now gonna have an outpost going up. Now keep in mind, an outpost is unable to see over this tree line. They can see over stealth forest. So if you've got a stealth forest and you put an outpost down, oh, I like it, Viper. I like it. I think this is definitely the correct play. Viper really thinking ahead into the future here. Going to begin trading out with the market. We'll have a look how much these are bringing in. 108, but does that get... He doesn't get spotted. You know why? Because he's got the hill advantage. Take a look as this guy comes past. He's got the hill advantage. So he can spot out the fishing boat of his enemy, but his enemy can't spot him because he's got the higher ground, baby. That is the line of sight advantage coming in right there. So really, really fortunate game mechanic right there for Viper. And now we take a look. The line of sight managing to come out past the tree line ever so slightly and provide line of sight onto those units. And take a look how many units they are. And it's curious that they only seem to cover a couple of units despite there being so many damn units there right now for Matiz. He is looking insanely strong right now. And I'm curious to know from Viper's perspective what he thinks the best composition is. He really likes to go this infantry heavy composition. Also got the hand cannoneer out. Important to note that these are fully upgraded hand cannoneers. Also got force march in here. I'd love to see him just pop that one off. That'd be hilarious for anybody wondering about the force march technology. Essentially, your infantry lose their attack, but they gain double the attacks or double the movement speed. So it's great if you're in a jiffy, in a bit of a tight spot. You can throw that one down. But now, Viper looking to hold his position. And really, there's a bit of a stalemate that's beginning to build. I can sense it. Can you guys sense it? It's like, you know, Matiz is sitting here. He's like, come on, Viper. Fight me. Fight me, Viper. I know you want to. But not really doing anything. And now Matt is pushing through the little flank that we talked about earlier. Village are going to be going down. Line of sight actually going to be coming through for Matt is. You can see that there's ever so slight line of sight coming through. He really wants to get this outpost up. Matt is going to be pushing through now. Culverin on the back line. Let's take a look at his macro. Let's spot exactly how well he does with this. We'll get ourselves into the beautiful cinematic mode. We'll take off that line of sight and enjoy the gameplay because now the horsemen begin to hit the mangonels on the back line. Culverin focusing over towards the Springles. We see he's got them shift clicked. They're just absolutely taking them to school. All the mangonels going down. Trebuchet's on the back line. Another mangonel for Viper that's sitting there. And it looks like a complete cleanup for Matiz at this point. The gold heavy units, including those hand cannoneers, are really going to take Viper to school. And it looks like Viper's in a bit of a difficult spot. We take the camera back. We turn off the cinematic camera. And we are looking like it might be a good game getting called very shortly because Matiz looks like he is in a position right now to begin pushing into Viper's base. And even though Viper's got all of this infrastructure that he's got, actually, how much infrastructure does Viper actually have? Let's take a look from his perspective. He's got 7 barracks, 2 siege workshops, 2 stables, and 7 archery ranges right now. So a lot of infrastructure, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Viper down about 70 military right now. And we'll take a look from the perspective of his opponent, sitting up on 88 military, just reinforcing constantly and continuing to march into the base. I love the fact that the siege sits back here. Villagers on the front line ready to repair just in case, and the Culverin doing a great job. Matiz is definitely looking incredibly strong right now, and I would even go so far to say as one of the potential favorites entering into the Genesis tournament. It is absolutely insane. I'm looking forward to seeing exactly what he can bring out. Now we actually see a Tower War Elephant coming out for Viper. He thinks maybe this is my saving grace. The single Tower War Elephant looking to march upon his opponent and say, hey man, you get back from my base. But something tells me this elephant is not going to be alive for much longer as he gets one shot by all the hand cannoneers. Poor guy, poor guy. Hand cannoneers demonstrating why they are one of the best units in the game. That was that was pretty cool. Oh my lord, dude. That elephant did not expect that. He thought he was going to be a little bit tankier than that. Oh my lord, there it goes. And Viper calling the good game. Matt is securing the victory. If you're watching this on YouTube, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Viper Watch, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.